I want to talk today about this idea that people are supposed to be better Christians somehow. Having spent 30 plus years in Christian culture, I know this gets spoken a lot. I've heard people say it. They'll say, well, you know, I'd be a better Christian, or I'd be a better person, or they may use some variation on those words, and they'll say, if I read the Bible more, if I prayed more, if I fasted more, if I did all these things more that we're supposed to do, right? Perhaps you've heard this. And then you'll hear people also say, well, I was going to go to church, but I feel like I need to clean up my act first. I need to quit drinking as much. I need to quit smoking. I need to quit cussing, but I just don't, or I will someday, And they're all supposing or assuming that they have to clean up their act and do less bad things or do more good things before they can be a better Christian or be a better person or even come to God. So this is almost entirely false. And to shed a little light on this subject, I want to look at three guys in the Bible who would have fit the bill for being the perfect Christians, okay? We're going to look at Peter, Paul, and John, okay? Now these three guys, arguably, no, actually without a doubt, were the ideal Christian people. Ask anybody in Christian culture and they'll say, oh yeah, the Apostle Paul, Apostle Peter, and the Apostle John, okay? It's a no-brainer. These three guys wrote most of the New Testament, besides evangelizing and revolutionizing the known world and their societies and their cultures at the time. This is what these three guys did, okay? So let's look at how they got there. Did any of them quit doing a bunch of bad things before they met Jesus and Jesus radically intervened in their lives and sent them out to radically change the world? Peter? Nope. John? Nope. Paul? Definitely nope. In fact, with Paul, he was rapidly doing very bad things. Okay? Paul didn't earn a damn thing. And let's look at if any of them did a bunch of good things to earn their way in. Okay? John was just a fisherman. That's all we know about him. He was fishing with his brother and his dad. Okay? That's neither here nor there. Not good nor bad. It's just, it's, a basic life thing you do. Okay? He certainly didn't earn his way in. Peter had a reputation, from what I've heard, of being a lot more rough around the edges than John. So he certainly didn't do a bunch of good things to earn his way in before Jesus showed up in his life and said, "Come to me," and radically transformed his life. And, well, the Apostle Paul, who was known at the time as Saul, he was doing what he thought were a lot of good things, i.e. studying the scriptures, being a very good, zealous Pharisee, right? But that certainly didn't get him where it was supposed to get him and where he thought it would get him, did it? So we can see from these three role models in the Christian world, in Christian culture, in faith culture, that none of them stopped doing bad things or started doing good things before they went to church and met Jesus and became good Christians. But they all had one thing in common. The thing that you and I need to get in common as well. They knew Jesus. These three guys knew Jesus better than any of them. John was the guy who laid on Jesus' breast at the dinner. And he's called the apostle that Jesus loved. Don't you want to be like that? Peter he just spent enough time with Jesus and got to know him well enough, and Jesus spoke directly to him, and God gave him revelation of who Jesus was. And Peter certainly didn't earn it, but he got forgiven of his stupidity enough to capture his heart with God's love. And Paul, who was known as Saul, was doing the exact opposite of what God and Christ wanted him to do. And yet Jesus showed up to him and he went, you know what? You're mine. And I'm going to introduce myself to you. And I still love you. Even though he had to obviously radically do a 180, obviously. But he did because he found out who Jesus really was. His religion was getting him nowhere. And then what? And then he got revelation straight from God about who Jesus was. And he got taken up to the third heaven and he knew Jesus. And he said, I count all that stuff that I was doing as crap in view of what? The surpassing value of knowing Christ Jesus, my Lord, and to be found in him, not having the righteousness of my own derived from the law, but the righteousness which comes from God on the basis of faith. So these three men, they didn't stop doing the bad things. At first they didn't. They did eventually. And they didn't do a bunch of good things to come to God and to come to Jesus or to go to church. No, they met Jesus for real. And they spent time with him. And they got to know him better than anybody else on the planet. And that's what makes people good Christians, folks. And so we need to learn this lesson today. It's not about how many good things we can do. It's not about how many bad things we can stop doing. It's about knowing Jesus. It's about how much we can know him and be in love with him. That's what we need to get.